and tested positive on December 7. He is currently asymptomatic but initially had coughs and cold upon arrival. The second case is a 37-year-old Nigerian who arrived from Nigeria on November 30 via Oman Air flight number WY843. He also tested positive on December 7th and has no symptoms. Both are in an isolation facility. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says one of them is fully vaccinated while the other is unvaccinated. Health and quarantine officials are verifying the test results and health status of all their co-passengers and checking if any one of them showed COVID symptoms after arrival. Health officials are again asking those on board these flights to call their hotline.
To do back tracing kung meron na yung mga kasama sa eroplano, yung 4x4x4 na mga nakatabi ay dapat ay matukoy. The DOH, the Epidemiology Bureau, the regional surveillance unit officers, the BOQ, the DOTR, they're all on track in doing what needs to be done.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque says Omicron reaching our borders is a cause for alarm but not surprising at all. They've been expecting and preparing for this. The Secretary says what's important at this point is to work double time in contact tracing, boost vaccinations, and prepare hospitals and quarantine facilities. And as one health official said on Monday, hopefully the country will be better in handling Omicron this time compared to when we faced the Delta variant. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
The health department reporting 237 new COVID-19 infections today. 100 more people died. 565 have recovered. Active cases dropped to over 10,000, excluding data from 7 laboratories. 8 more areas have been placed in the red list, or countries and territories that are at high risk for COVID-19 infection. Acting presidential spokesperson Carlo Nograles says travelers from Andorra, Monaco, the Northern Mariana Islands, Reunion, and San Marino will be prohibited from entering the Philippines from December 16 to 31. He adds France, South Africa, and Switzerland will remain on the red list until year end. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque says the country will remain under Alert Level 2 for the rest of the year. Alert Level 2 will ensure restrictions are still in place to prevent the spread of Omicron. Now, as Simbang Gabi begins tomorrow, the palace advises churchgoers to observe minimum health protocols. It also suggests to attend virtual masses instead. As we observe the Overseas Filipino Workers Month, returning OFWs decry their poor state in some quarantine facilities in Metro Manila. Almost 2 years since the pandemic began, some think the government is still mismanaging the situation. Our George Gilas has that story.
Jose, an overseas Filipino worker who requested anonymity, is currently quarantined in this cramped hotel room. The space is so small that he is having a hard time opening his large suitcase. While it has its own bathroom, Jose says the hotel has no water supply at times. There are dozens of OFWs who are dealing with similar issues.
Hindi siya conducive for a long term, that means 5 to 7 days quarantine without going out, without exercise. Then all you have to do here is stand and then lie down to sleep. Yun lang magagawa mo dito.
With the influx of returning OFWs this holiday season, Jose thinks the government is mismanaging the situation, and OFWs are the ones getting the short end of the stick.
They should experience it by themselves. Para makita nila yung katotohanan ng reklamo namin.
Acknowledging the lack of quarantine facilities, the government says it will reopen quarantine facilities for OFWs in nearby regions of Metro Manila.
We have the peripheral isolation and quarantine facilities in 4A and also in Region 3. So we are now expanding the use of what used to be empty TTMFs. We are in constant communication with OWA.
The government has also shortened the quarantine period for vaccinated OFWs coming from countries in the green list. While they're still required to undergo facility-based quarantine, their RT-PCR test will be carried out on the third day. They will be allowed to go home if they test negative, but they need to continue their quarantine at home until they finish the 10-day period.
Mas mabilis na yung magiging turnover ng incoming and outgoing sa mga facilities without sacrificing yung health and safety ng lahat.
As far as complaints about quarantine facilities are concerned, Malacanang says the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA has promised to fix the issues. CNN Philippines tried to reach OWA but it has yet to respond to our request for interview. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
The second round of the national vaccination drive kicked off in Nueva Ecija today. The full story from Tristan Nodalo.
The government is optimistic that it will meet its target to vaccinate 7 million Filipinos in its second Bayanihan Bakunahan drive nationwide. This amid the challenges brought by Typhoon Odette and amid hesitancy and vaccine preference among Filipinos. Officials of the National Task Force Against COVID-19 check on the mass vaccination drive in Cabanatuan City in Nueva Ecija. The local government targets to inoculate 20,000 people within 3 days in 15 vaccination centers. Health officials say vaccine hesitancy and brand preference remain as challenges. A little over half of the city's 235,000 eligible population have completed 2 doses. People came in trickles in one of the vaccination sites in Cabanatuan, but Health Secretary Francisco Duque remains hopeful that more people will get the shot.
We cannot stop. The demand generation is very, very important. And I think they're very innovative. The LGU, I think, will already embark on a house-to-house vaccination, especially of the elderly, the most vulnerable sector.
As vaccine stock increases, Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez is shifting focus in making sure supply is properly managed. The concern is now on having enough storage facility and avoid wastage.
Ang dami na dumadating na bakuna, talagang iniiwasan namin talaga yung tinatawag natin na wastage. That's why ang ginagawa natin is we are requesting na yung darating dito higher ang tinatawag natin na yung higher months or tinatawag nating mas longer ang kanyang shelf life. Katulad ng Janssen na dumating ngayon, ang shelf life niya is 2003 pa. Yung strategy natin na first in, first out, kung sino yung unang dumating at saka una yung expiry date, yun ang una muna natin inuubos.
Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez says that there is a contingency plan in areas that may be on path of Typhoon Odette. He says there should be enough power generators and safe storage facilities in order to protect the COVID-19 vaccines. In Cabanatuan City, Tristan Nodalo, CNN Philippines.
Coming up on Newsnight, Typhoon Odette moves closer to land. We give you the latest on its track and the areas under storm signals. Plus, groups collect thousands of signatures supporting a motion to remove Bongbong Marcos from the 2022 presidential race. More when we return.
For my babies, only vet-approved Nutri-Chunks puppies. The only one with active boost and prebiotics na Pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow strong and healthy. Happiness! Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks puppies.
May pagbabago man sa dekorasyon, sa pangangaroling, at sa simoy ng selebrasyon. Ang maiiwan na damang-dama ay sarap ng Pasko na buong-buo. Sarap na hatid ng Pure Foods Noche Buena. Sarap na dala ng pamilyang bumubuo sa Pasko. Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods.
Wala kayo sa tatay ko. Kinuwang libre ang pag-aaral ko sa kolehiyo.
Ang tatay ko, namigay ng libreng irigasyon.
Wala sa tatay ko. Mga tulay, kalsada at infrastruktura. Yun ang pinagawa nun.
Ang tatay ko, sinagot ang ospital at pagpagamot ko.
Sino yung tatay ko?
Yung tatay ko?
Yung tatay ko,
Ang tatay ko?
si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong? Si Tatay Digong?
Si Tatay Digong?
Siya ang tatay ko.
Mabuhay ang malayang Pilipinas.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready to eat. Slow cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
Sa pagbangon ng mga Pilipino, saludo ako.
sa mga taong patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran.
Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
Enjoy the #1 pinakamasarap na Pure Foods Tender Juicy ngayong Pasko. Kasama ang sarap ng pamilya.
We are a direct selling company and our vision is sharing prosperity globally through entrepreneurship. We have done great sharing prosperity in the Philippines. We have conquered the pandemic. Every year we have grown our business and we're excited to venture outside of the Philippines starting next year. When the first lockdown was announced, we were affected also. We have a lot of people dependent on us, on the business that they have in iFern, and we needed to find a way to conquer. We needed to shift what we were doing offline, online. So we were able to continue. The creature that will survive is not the strongest, it's the most adaptable. And we were able to adapt as a company.
The winner in the vitamins and supplements category is Fern D.
We're so happy to receive our 3rd World Branding Award in a row. We're fortunate that our world-class vitamin D, Fern D, is being promoted by World Health Organization. During the awarding, we are fortunate to know that we're the only vitamins that was awarded.
iFern Corporation from the Philippines. Congratulations to all.
Maraming kumpanya nahirapan, They had difficulty during the pandemic, and there are companies that were able to inspire. And we're fortunate that our growth has been recognized, and we are the only awardee for growth from the Philippines. My big crazy dream is for iFern to be the first globally known Filipino brand. That's the company that grows successful entrepreneurs. My hope is for other entrepreneurs to be inspired by what we have done. Kung kaya namin gawin, kaya nyo rin. If an ordinary Filipino company like iFern can do it, you can do it also. Small investment, unlimited returns, that's what we promise. And all of our products are world-class and affordable. And according to my AIM professor, that's a deadly combination. And that's why we were able to beat the pandemic.
Sa 2021!
Sa iFern tayo yayaman!
Thank you!
Welcome back to Newsnight. A check on the weather now. More areas under signal number 2 as Typhoon Odette further intensifies. The Weather Bureau Pag-asa says Odette was last spotted nearly 500 kilometers east of Hinatuan in Surigao del Sur. It'll continue to gain strength tonight until tomorrow, when it is expected to hit land in Caraga or eastern Visayas in the afternoon or evening. The typhoon will then cross over a number of provinces in central and western Visayas. Signal number 2 up over southern portions of eastern Samar, southern Leyte, central and southern parts of Leyte, as well as the Camiguin and the Surigao and Agusan provinces. Damaging winds and heavy rains expected there in the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, signal number 1 raised in over 35 areas. These include Catanduanes, Camarines Sur, Albay, Sorsogon, and portions of the Mindoro provinces. Same goes for Cebu, the Negros provinces, Iloilo, Antique, Capiz, and Aklan. In Mindanao, parts of Davao, Bukidnon, and the Lanao and Zamboanga provinces are under signal number 1. Local governments, meantime, in Odette's path preparing for its impact. Tacloban City in Leyte is suspending work in government offices today. People in low-lying and coastal areas also ordered to evacuate. Work and classes for public and private sectors suspended tomorrow in Samar, eastern and northern Samar, and southern Leyte, and until Friday in Giwan and Giporlos towns in eastern Samar. Local governments preparing food packs. The Western Visayas Coast Guard canceling all trips from the Iloilo, Bacolod, and Guimaras ports this morning. Officials appeal to fishermen not to go out to sea as the typhoon nears. In Valencia City, Bukidnon, evacuation plans in place for people living in high-risk areas as well as rescue equipment. Philippine Airlines canceling some domestic and international flights because of Odette. Among the affected trips tomorrow, Manila to Butuan, Tacloban, and Siargao, and vice versa, as well as Cagayan de Oro and Davao to Cebu. PAL San Francisco to Manila flight also canceled. Civil society groups submit to the Commission on Elections a letter with over 15,000 signatures supporting the first of multiple petitions to cancel Bongbong Marcos's presidential bid. These signatures were gathered through change.org. Meanwhile, the COMELEC raffled off 166 slots in the 2022 ballot to determine the order of listing for party list names. The official list of 2022 candidates was not released today as initially scheduled. COMELEC says it still has to resolve some cases against nuisance bets. We have more stories ahead. In sports, Golden State's Warrior Stephen Curry has just become the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history. Details next. Stay tuned.
Pandemic, serving others is the best. Sa pagtutulungan, patuloy ang ating laban sa buhay. Kaya dapat always healthy. With proper diet, exercise, and MX3 Coffee Mix to ignite my day. Hi guys! Lagi akong focused, active, at extraordinary. Because the most important things in life deserve nothing less. MX3 Coffee Mix, my choice.
Sang-ayon ba ang lahat na ang best tasting chicken dog ay TJ rin? Walang duda na ang tender, ang juicy, best tasting chicken hotdog talaga. Chicken ang desisyon. Kids can tell, best tasting ang TJ chicken dog.
Ahon, bangon, sulong. Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Pangarap ng bawat Pilipino, hangarin ng Northern Cement.
Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Pinalaki ng Northern Cement ang kapasidad ng kanilang planta para steady ang supply ng sementong tigasin. Northern Cement Max Plus, Supreme at Max Pro.
Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Kidimiti sarap ng Pure Foods ready-to-eat spaghetti. Easy to prepare even for kids. Ngayong Pasko, kasama ang sarap ng pamilya.
Ang tatay ko, ginawang ligtas, panatag at maayos ang buong bayan.
Wala yan sa tatay ko. Ibinalik ang ganda ng Boracay.
Mas magaling yung tatay ko. Nakamit niya ang kapayapaan sa Mindanao.
Ang tatay ko sinagot ang ospital at papagamot ko.
Sino yung tatay ko?
Ang tatay ko.
Tatay ko.
Ang tatay ko,
Si Tatay Digong?
Si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong?
Siya ang tatay ko.
Taas noo nating pagmalaki tayo ay Pilipino.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer.
In Bulacan, residents enjoy easier access to the kind of water we all deserve. This is thanks to SMC Infrastructure's Bulacan Bulk Water Supply System project, a treatment facility that provides affordable and potable bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan. It produces an average volume of 160 million liters per day for around 165,000 households. It also has a maximum capacity of 388 million liters per day. This meets the increasing water demand of Bulaqueños. The project also cuts down the use of deep wells, helping mitigate the environmental impact of excessive groundwater extraction. The Bulacan Bulk Water Supply System project provides Bulaqueños the affordable and reliable potable water supply they need.
Stephen Curry's new record-breaking feat puts him alongside the NBA great. Steph Curry surpassed Ray Allen for most career triples made after making his 2,974 three-pointer. Allen posted about passing the torch to the Warriors' sharpshooting guard, congratulating him on the achievement. Curry managed to set the record in just 789 games, 511 less than it took Allen. And back here at home, basketball fans get to see their first PBA game in person after almost 2 years. Pauline Versosa tells us more.
It's a festive welcome for the PBA and its fans here at the Big Dome as they finally make their return after nearly 2 years. Now, this reunion of sorts is courtesy of the Quezon City local government, provided that strict health protocols will be observed. Only fully vaccinated fans aged 12 and above will be permitted. Upon entry, they must present their vaccination cards together with a government-issued ID and QC pass. Inside the venue, fans must still wear face masks at all times, while eating is allowed only at the venue's concessionaires. Now, it was way back in March 2020 when fans last saw their favorite players live in action, and now they can finally see their idols like Paul Lee, Calvin Abueva, and Jason Castro up close.
Sobrang excited po, ma'am. Galing po ako ng Cavite. Pumunta pa po ako dito para manood. Iba ang feelings, ma'am, kasi excited. Alas 10 pala nandito na ako, ma'am. Nag-aabang na po ako para bumili ng ticket. Excited po kasi po first time po namin manonood ngayon eh.
Medyo hindi na rin po nakaka-excite na nasa TV lang. Mas maganda talaga yung nasa live, lalo na yung mga hiyawan ng mga tao.
The arena management is limiting the crowd to 4,000 out of a seating capacity of 16,000. As a Christmas tree, the PBA is also cutting ticket prices by almost half. Fans grabbing this opportunity bought tickets ahead of this week's games.
Susulitin nyo na po kasi ito, expand ako eh. Mas maganda, nagbaba para hindi naman agad-agad eh.
The PBA also gets a green light to hold games with live fans at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay City. But due to the venue's packed schedule, the league eyes to make its return in the arena in January. Pauline Versosa, CNN Philippines.
If you're looking to start the new year with new appliances more than the price, you should also check the energy labels. The DOE's energy labeling program can help you choose energy-efficient appliances that are sure to help you save more in the long run. That's coming your way shortly. It is 10 days before Christmas. That is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Ang main role talaga ng energy labeling program is informing our consumers to make decisions on purchase based on what is best for them. Hanapin lang po natin yung ating energy label at tignan, mas mataas ang numero, mas madaming star, mas matipid ang ating kinukuhang appliance. Ang ating Philippine Energy Labeling Program ay yung ating mandatory program para dun sa ating mga energy consuming products kagaya ng refrigerator, air conditioners, television sets at saka yung ating ilaw or various lighting products na nag-guide po ito. Ito po ay sticker na inilalagay sa mga produktong ito na naglalaman po ng impormasyon sa kanya pong energy efficiency rating at kung ano po ang magiging konsumo nito kung atin po siyang pipiliin.
Implementation of PLP will have an impact on the way we will introduce our products. We need to ensure that the models we will introduce to the market should have high energy efficiency so as to be a step ahead of the competition. Giving the customers a product which consumes lesser electricity will certainly lower their monthly electricity bill, and as a whole will lessen the energy utilization of the country.
The best results are achieved if a company aims to get certified in ISO 9001. If you are certified in ISO 9001, you already comply with the law, Republic Act 11285. There is a big opportunity to achieve huge amount of energy savings, and it is sustainable.
One key note on ISO 14001 and similar framework program is a holistic approach focusing not just on the technology but also incorporating industry, personnel, management, and support of the whole personnel in the designated establishment's facility.
The Philippine Green Building Council was formed in 2007 with 3 specific mandates: rate, educate, and advocate. We actually promote education on green building to the property sector. We actually work with the shaping of policies to support green building and energy efficiency. And we have actually instituted a program called the Verde Program, which seeks to certify projects that are performed environmentally well.
The approach of Ayala Land, because it's very hard to retrofit, is actually, we call that energy management life cycle approach. It provides moral boosting na even the Philippines can really execute a global level energy efficiency best practices.
Everyone is going for health and wellness, and everyone is going for sustainability. I think it's a two-way thing. No, we were learning from DOE, but at the same time, they were learning from us as well. And with both combined experiences, that's why we were able to achieve this goal.
This program is brought to you by
higit na pinalakas, sumasayo ang RPN Radyo Ronda. RPN DYKB Radyo Ronda Bacolod. RPN branches nationwide. Pakulot sa paglilingkod sa sambayanang Pilipino.
Ang tagdumalahan kag mga katapos ang RPN DYKB 1404 kHz ang Radyo Ronda sang Bacolod ang nagatamyaw sa inyo tanan sang malipayon nga Pasko kag mahamungayaon nga bagong tuig. Madamo gid nga salamat sa inyo padayon nga pagpasulabi kag pagsuporta sa Radyo Ronda. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Ang ini nga pagpanamyaw ginadulong sa inyo sang masunod. Reming's Meat Shop nahamtang sa Lopez Building, Lacson Street, Madalagan, Bacolod City. Miss Merceditas Ditas Montilla and Family kag Congresswoman Marilu Arroyo sang Quito Distrito, Negros Occidental.
DYKB Bacolod, mas pinalawak, mas pinalakas. DYKB Radio Ronda.
Around 15 million people worldwide suffer from stroke each year. Some of the more common risk factors are diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. But recent studies have found that COVID-19 may increase the likelihood of it as well. Experts say strokes can occur in COVID-19 patients under the age of 50 with mild or no symptoms. But understanding the warning signs, its risk factors, and the treatments can make a huge difference. On the program today, we'll talk more about COVID-19 and stroke. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. This is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Experts are warning that COVID-19 may increase the risk of stroke in certain groups. Our guests are here to tell us more about this. With us is Dr. Epifania Collantes. She's a stroke neurologist from the Philippine General Hospital and Manila Doctors Hospital. Also with us is Dr. Ethel Anonuevo. She's a pulmonologist from the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Now, it is said that strokes are the second leading cause of death among Filipinos and one of the top 5 leading causes of disability. I'll start first with Dr. Epi. Ano ba yung stroke? Why does it happen?
A stroke is a brain attack, so there's usually sudden weakness or numbness in some parts of the body, and the main cause is an abnormal blood vessel. So it can be hemorrhagic or cerebral infarction. So those are the 2 types of stroke. Cerebral infarction, meaning there's a blockage in the blood flow of depriving certain cells of the brain with oxygen, damaging the cells of the brain, and hemorrhagic because of the rupture of blood vessels.
Now, because of the nature of strokes, time is of the essence. Napaka-importante na makakita sila ng treatment agad. And the earlier you recognize the warning signs, the sooner you can get the help needed. Dr. Epi, let's go through the symptoms, the common symptoms kapag someone is undergoing a stroke.
So remember the acronym BFAST. B, if there's sudden loss of balance. E, means sudden blindness or sudden doubling of vision. F means look at the face. Is there asymmetry, facial asymmetry? Then look at the arm. Is there weakness of one part of the body? And then S for speech. Is there slurring of speech? And then T is time. Note the time, and it's time to rush the patient to the hospital. So the acronym is BFAST.
Okay, so be fast, and early detection of these symptoms is vital in preventing permanent damage. Yun ang ayaw natin. So remember to be fast. Dr. Ethel, let's talk about this one. How can COVID-19, which primarily affects the lungs, how can this be a risk factor for stroke?
Of course, the primary manifestation would be the lungs, pero there are case series, ibig sabihin po, these are researches that were published, na nag-show na affected din talaga yung brain, the heart, and other parts of the body. I think what the main mechanism would be several things. One is hypercoagulable. Ito po yung nagiging malapot yung dugo ng mga pasyente natin with COVID, and be it mild and most especially the more critical patients, nagiging malapot po yung dugo nila. And what is the mechanism behind that? It could be because mataas yung tinatawag nating mga cytokines, no? Ito po yung cytokine storms. Pero pag nagsa-cytokine storm ng mga pasyente, may symptoms na po sa lungs, no? Hirap huminga, bumabagsak yung oxygen. And if we look at blood tests, nakikita na din natin doon na tumataas siya. One mechanism po yun, hypercoagulable state. There are also postulates na merong direct effect yung virus to the blood vessels promoting thrombosis or pagbabara ng mga ugat, no, anywhere in the body, and clinically siguro sa heart at saka sa brain. Yun yung sinasabi nila na most probable postulate sa mga pasyente na mild naman, hindi sila nag-cytokine storm, pero nagkakaroon sila ng stroke. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Epi, but in case reports, the incidence of stroke, no, and most especially siguro yung ischemic stroke in patients with COVID-19 is variable but not too high compared to the general population na walang COVID. So parang sinasabi nila between 1 to 6% lang in case series. Again, all the data will be coming out siguro anytime soon, no? Kasi yung mga reports nila would be in the 2020 experience pa lang.
Itong mga symptoms na to, itong mga factors, normally seen with those with moderate to severe COVID can lead or mag-i-increase ang chance ng magka-heart attack or stroke. Now, Dr. Ethel, let's remind our viewers again about the symptoms ng moderate to severe COVID-19 para aware sila because this is where that risk for having a stroke increases.
Alam naman po natin, the symptoms of COVID can be very non-specific. Para lang siyang trangkaso po, no? Lagnat, sinisipon, masakit ang katawan, inuubo. Non-specific, any viral infection can have this. Pero po, pag meron kayong exposure to somebody known to have COVID, alam na natin, increase yung likelihood na COVID yan. The other symptoms would be pag nawala po yung pang-amoy or panglasa, mas mataas yung chance na these are from COVID infection rather than from the other infections in the respiratory system. So siguro, it's more of a clinical suspicion na mag-i-increase yung likelihood. But remember po, no, may magagawa po tayo the first 5 days of symptoms. Beyond the 5 days, yun na po yung papasok yung inflammatory phase. So gusto natin ngayon with the provision of all these antivirals already in the Philippines, no? Dumarating na po sila. I think ngayong November lalabas na yung Molnupiravir, no? So all these things po dapat i-address natin yung viral phase or the acute viral phase. Huwag na nating hintayin yung inflammatory phase. So, I think suspicion. We need to have a clinical suspicion. Tingnan natin, meron ba tayong nakahalubilo with COVID? And kung meron bang nawala ng pang-amoy or panglasa, high likelihood po yun talaga ng COVID. The others are non-specific.
There has also been occurrences of strokes in COVID-19 patients as young as 30 years old and with mild to no symptoms. Why does this happen? More on this when we return. Stay with us on MedTalk Health Talk only on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where caring is our calling. COVID-19 usually attacks the lungs, causing symptoms such as coughing and difficulty breathing. But experts are now starting to worry about another organ, the brain. Even with mild symptoms, many people as young as 30 are experiencing stroke or stroke-like symptoms. Dr. Epi, let's first discuss who are most at risk nito.
Those who are hypertensive, diabetic, who are smoker, who have irregular heartbeat, no, and who are drinking a lot of alcohol with substance abuse, like maybe shabu or ecstasy, those who are high cholesterol levels and are obese.
So, itong mga risk factors na ito, Dr. Epi, as long as they are present, it doesn't really matter how young or how old you are, no? You are still at risk of having a stroke if you have COVID-19 as well.
For COVID-19, we did a study on this. More than 2,000 COVID-positive patients at UPPGH. 3% had stroke, and the mean age was 59, plus minus 14. So younger age, but they had other risk factors like hypertension. But even those with mild COVID, they had also stroke.
Now, people living with multiple risk factors have greater cause for concern if infected with COVID-19. But as we mentioned, there have also been accounts of patients with mild to no symptoms who have experienced strokes. Dr. Epi, what do we know about this naman so far? Yung mga mild to moderate symptoms lang with COVID-19 but still nagkakaroon sila ng symptoms ng stroke.
Yeah. So even those without really hypertensive young patients, because there's increased viscosity, malapot yung dugo, it can cause thrombosis or blood clot in the arteries and veins. So this increases the risk for stroke because of that thrombosis.
Let's talk a little bit about the link between COVID-19 and that of stroke, because stroke typically results from, as mentioned, blood clots. This is one of the symptoms as well as of severe COVID-19, as mentioned earlier, yung hypercoagulable state. Dr. Ethel, can you explain that link between COVID-19 and that of these blood clots that may put someone at risk of having a stroke?
So as we all know, yung COVID po, hindi lang nakaka-apekto ng respiratory system from the nose to the lungs, but also have been found out to affect the blood vessels. And in so many different ways po. Kung mayroong cytokine storms, this is the inflammatory phase. The fact na namamaga yung buong system natin, the blood vessels are namamaga. No? Lahat po ito are all contributory para magkakaroon ng clotting factor. Also, tumataas kasi yung isang biomarker, what we call D-dimer. In most studies, kahit na, actually nakikita po namin to sa mga sa mga patients na at least the moderate to the more critical, tumataas talaga yung D-dimer nila. Inflammation marker po siya, but at the same time marker for hypercoagulable state. So number one, po yun, theory na yun ang dahilan kung bakit there is a connection between COVID and stroke. But the other one is a direct effect. So ito nga po yung sinasabi natin na baka ito yung mechanism behind mild COVID patients na they didn't have symptoms at all na respiratory, hindi sila nadadala sa ospital until they manifest with certain things like stroke po.
Now, we're aware that the loss of smell and taste, headaches, fatigue, and brain fog are some of the symptoms na pwedeng maramdaman ng isang taong positive ng COVID-19. This has led some experts to believe that the disease may cause some neurological problems because of this. Dr. Ethel, meron din bang connection kapag merong simptomas na ganito na nakita sa isang pasyente?
Ang affectation kasi sa nose and sa taste, sa tongue, is actually not directly affecting the nerves. Pero namamaga po yung mga cells, surrounding that blood, that nerve ending, that may supply yung sense natin ng taste and smell, namamaga sila, and that is the direct viral effect, no? Kasi yun po yung una talaga, nose and throat, no? So whether it affects the nerve itself, hindi natin talaga alam. What we know is apektado yung gilid. So namamaga po yung gilid na kung saan nag-enter yung mga nerve endings natin. What about the brain? There are reports of pathologic examination of the brain wherein they saw viral parts, no? So, ibig sabihin po nun, siguro meron ding invasion of the virus to the brain. But most, ang talagang nare-report is really the cytokine storm or pagmamaga or inflammatory phase na nakaka-cause ng lahat ng ganitong mga simptomas.
I'd like to ask, for those viewers who by now probably think na baka nag-worry sila, they might have to take a blood test or something like that, especially whenever they're positive also with COVID-19. Is it practical to include in a blood test their D-dimer even though they don't feel any symptoms? Maybe they might think that this could be a marker for a possible risk factor for stroke. Is it practical to do that?
You are right. So once a patient has symptoms and admitted in a hospital, there are panel of tests, and one of the tests is D-dimer, which has a prognostic significance. An increase of that will increase the risk for stroke and other maybe cardiovascular events also, not only stroke.
Now, what are the best ways to manage and monitor COVID-19 related strokes? We'll discuss that after a short break. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Strokes can happen without warning and can result in severe and even permanent damage. Again, understanding the warning signs and getting timely treatment can make all the difference. Remember to be fast. Balance eyes, face, arms, speech, and time. Dr. Epi, how are strokes usually diagnosed kapag dinala na sa hospital ang pasyente?
So when you go to the hospital, CT scan is immediately done after assessment. So we'll differentiate between bleed and infarction. So in other hospitals, they use the MRI.
So when it comes to stroke, Dr. Epi, a lot of people still may be wary into going to the hospital. Baka COVID hotspot ito, baka mahawa sila ng COVID if they're not. Should this be one of their worries, or is stroke such a serious condition that dapat dalhin na kagad sa hospital?
dapat dalhin kaagad sa ospital because it's reversible. No, so kung hindi ma-reverse, there's great disability. No, so dalhin kaagad sa hospital even in the times of COVID kasi may health protocols naman. No, so na fina-follow. So kaya careful yung mga doctors, no, and then you will be screened also there in the ER.
Dapat dalhin sa hospital. Now, speaking of the treatment for that and it being reversible, once diagnosed, Dr. Epi, the neurologist we can administer treatment right away. Tell us more about this. What type of treatment is administered and how reversible is it? Pwede bang bumalik ng 100% ang pasyente?
Yes, pwedeng bumalik 100%. Like if there's a blockage in the blood flow, there's a clot buster, RTPA, being given within less than 4.5 hours. Yun ang golden time to save the cells of the brain. If it is given immediately, nag-open up yung blood vessel, the oxygen flows again, saving the brain. So yun yung, pwede yun. Kung bleed naman to, pwedeng i-control din yung hypertension. So diretso ka agad sa ospital dapat.
Now, Dr. Ethel, does the treatment change for stroke kapag yung stroke ay caused by COVID-19?
Okay, there's no difference. There's no difference except that there are health protocols that has to be takot lang talaga tayo sa COVID and then the occurrence of stroke. But from what I've known and from what I've seen in most of my patients na merong stroke, hindi po nagbabago yung management. If this is a bleed or a big infarct, kailangan i-manage yung hypertension, kailangan i-manage yung hydration. So dapat well hydrated or hydrated enough yung mga pasyente para ma-maintain yung good blood flow and good blood pressure. So ang isang problema kasi natin po sa COVID, mababa talaga yung mga oxygen ng mga pasyente with severe and critical. So we're trying to make sure that na nare-reach natin at least more than 90% O2 saturation para po yung enough yung oxygen na pupunta sa brain. Again, it's not just stroke that is causing the changes in the brain. The hypoxemia, yung mababang oxygen po, eventually naapektuhan yung brain natin.
Okay. Now today, a lot of us have been hearing about long COVID. Dr. Ethel, is the risk still high after COVID-19 recovery? Madalas ba natin nakikita itong mga long COVID o itong mga simptomas well after the patient has become better?
Yes po. In my clinical experience, up to 1 year, meron pa din silang mga simptomas and varied, no? From head to foot po talaga yung mga post-COVID. Kaya hindi pwedeng baliwalain talaga yung COVID. Hindi siya ordinaryong infection. Kahit na magaling na po kayo, binabantayan pa din po namin kayo.
Ultimately though, strokes can be treated kapag naagapan ito and you should never delay getting the care that you need. And before we go, Dr. Epi, could you give our viewers a few more tips about how they can prevent strokes?
Yeah, get a healthy lifestyle, like do exercises daily, exercise, healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, eating habits, stay away from fast food, stop smoking, limitation in the alcohol intake, like if you need to drink 2 bottles of beer will be enough, not more than that. Get enough sleep and lessen your stress.
And Dr. Ethel, any tips para maganda ang lungs at healthy ito for the long run?
Unfortunately, there are no perfect medication to protect the lungs. I think the only way to protect the lungs from infection is our health protocols. Yung mag-wear ng mask. Kung merong mga pasyente, kung inuubo po kayo, protect the community by covering your mouth. No? You need to eat healthy. You need to exercise the same way as yung sinabi ni Dr. Epi sa atin. It will be also the advice to keep your lungs healthy. And stop smoking po if you are smoking.
With that, I'd like to thank neurologist Dr. Epifania Collantes and pulmonologist Dr. Ethel Anunuevo for sharing with us your expertise and your insights. The more we know about COVID-19 and its complications, the better for our health. So marami pong salamat sa inyong dalawa. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time.
DYKB Radio Ronda.
Ang tagdumalahan kag mga katapos ang RPN DYKB 1404 kHz ang Radyo Ronda sang Bacolod ang nagatamyaw sa inyo tanan sang malipayon nga Pasko kag mahamong yaon nga bagong tuig. Madamo gid nga salamat sa inyo padayon nga pagpasulabi kag pagsuporta sa Radyo Ronda. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Ang ini nga pagpanamyaw ginadulong sa inyo sang masunod. Reming's Meat Shop nahamtang sa Lopez Building, Lacson Street, Madalagan, Bacolod City. Miss Merceditas Ditas Montilla and Family kag Congresswoman Marilu Arroyo sang Quinto